Hello, my dear friend. Welcome to the VUS Learning English Podcast. My name is Anna, and I am so happy you are here with me today. If this is your first time here, welcome. I am so glad you found us. And if you are a returning listener, welcome back. It is always wonderful to have you with us. This podcast is a safe place for you. It is a warm place for you to learn English. Here you can relax, you can learn slowly, and you can feel good about your English journey. Today we have a very special episode. It is a story about a big problem for many English learners, the fear of speaking. Do you ever feel afraid to speak English? Do you worry about making mistakes? Do you feel shy? If you said yes, then this episode is for you. Today, I will share a story. It is a story about feeling very, very afraid. And it is a story about finding a new way to feel brave. It is a story about a simple 10-minute habit. This habit can change everything for you. I believe this story will give you hope. It will make you feel strong. It will help you find your own voice. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for spending your time with me. It means so much. Before we begin, if you enjoy our time together, please think about giving this episode a like, or you can subscribe to our channel. When you do this, you help our podcast grow. You help us reach more English learners just like you. It is a small click for you, but it is a big help for us. I love to know where you are listening from. It makes me feel connected to you. Are you in the United States? Or Japan? Or South Korea? Or somewhere else in our beautiful world? Please tell me in the comments. I love reading them. Okay, are you comfortable? Are you ready? Let's begin our story. The sound of their laughter was loud. It felt like a slap on my face. I had just asked a question. It was a simple question. The room was full of people. Before I spoke, there was a low sound of talking, a quiet hum. But when I spoke, the room changed. There was a sudden, loud sound, laughter. It was not everyone, just 3 or 4 people. They were sitting at my table. But their laughter was enough. It was so loud, it made all the other sounds stop. Their chuckles felt mean. They were looking down on me. My face felt very hot. I could feel my cheeks turning red. This is the feeling of shame. It is a very bad feeling. My throat felt tight. It was hard to breathe. Just a moment before, I had words in my head. I practiced the sentences so carefully. I knew what I wanted to say. But now all the words were gone. My mind was empty. The words felt like a big mess, like sounds with no meaning. It was like my brain was playing a mean joke on me. I wanted to be invisible. I wanted to disappear. I just wanted to be somewhere else. In that one moment, I felt hopeless. I thought about all my work. I downloaded so many vocabulary apps on my phone. I watched so many videos to learn English. I memorized so many grammar rules from books. But in that moment, it felt like nothing mattered. None of it helped me. I felt that I would never, ever be able to speak. Just knowing English words is one thing, but using the words, speaking the words is another thing. There was a big space between knowing and using, like a long, long bridge, a bridge that was 1,000,000 miles long. And I was on the wrong side of the bridge. I was stuck. And the sound of their laughter was in that space. That sound was all I could hear. I looked down at my hands. I just needed a place to look. I did not want to see their faces. My heart was beating so fast, it It was like a drum inside my chest. Boom, boom, boom. It was the sound of feeling so bad, so embarrassed. I did not know what to do, so I just nodded my head. I pretended that I understood the joke. I pretended that I was okay. But I wasn't okay. I went into a shell of silence. I did not speak again for the rest of the night. Later, I went home. I had a heavy feeling in my heart. It was a feeling of hopelessness. This feeling was not new. I knew this feeling very well. It was a sad, old friend. It was the feeling that maybe I was not smart enough. Maybe my brain was not made for learning a new language. Maybe I could never do it. But that moment, that terrible moment of shame, the sting of that laughter, it did not only break me, it did something else too. It forced me to look for a different way, a new path. This new way was not about more apps. It was not about more books. It was not about more grammar charts. What I found was a habit, a very simple habit. It seems almost too simple. A 10-minute habit. I did this habit for just 7 days, only 1 week. And after those 7 days, something amazing happened. Those same people who laughed at me, they were completely speechless. They were quiet. They were surprised. And today, right now, in this episode, I am going to share that entire journey with you. I will tell you everything. Section 1. The agitation, the silent prison of fear. Do you ever feel like you have 2 kinds of English? 2 different versions of you? There is one version of you in your head. This you is clever. This you is smart. This you can understand a podcast, just like you are understanding me now. This you can read an article in English. And you understand everything. That you is pretty good at English. But then there's the other version, the other you. This is the you who needs to open your mouth. This is the you who needs to speak the words out loud. And that version, well, that version can feel like a mess. That version feels weak and scared. That is exactly where I was. I was living in that place. After that night of laughter, my fear grew bigger. The fear was not just a feeling anymore. It became a real thing. It felt like a wall, a big, tall, invisible wall all around me. When I was in a place where I had to speak English, my body felt the fear first, before my mind even had a chance to think. My hands would get sweaty. My heart would start to beat fast, and my mind would go completely blank. Like a white computer screen. No words, nothing. Just a big, scary, white emptiness. The most frustrating part was this. I knew the words. I really did. In my head, in my own language, I could hear the perfect sentence. It was clear. It was smart. But the moment I tried to say it in English, it was like a traffic jam in my brain. All the words were stuck. Nothing could come out. That process of translating in my head was so slow. It was clumsy. It was so tiring. I would be trying so hard. I was looking for the perfect word. I was searching for the perfect grammar tense. And by the time I was ready, the moment was gone. The conversation had moved on to something else. So what did I do? I just stayed quiet. Again and again. Staying quiet felt easier. It felt safer. There was no risk, no chance of making a mistake, no chance of being laughed at. You have probably felt this. Maybe you have downloaded many apps. Duolingo, Memrise, Babbel. Maybe you have watched hundreds of YouTube videos. Maybe you have even paid for English courses. You understand English quite well. You can read, you can listen. But when it is your turn to speak, something inside you just stops. It freezes. It feels like you are trapped behind a wall of glass. You can see the world. You can hear everything. People are talking and laughing on the other side. But you cannot get out. You cannot join them. You are stuck. This is the silent prison of language anxiety. Anxiety is another word for fear or worry. It is a prison we build ourselves, a prison made of fear. It is the fear of being judged, the fear that people will think you are not smart. It is the fear of making a mistake, the fear that someone will correct you, or even worse, that someone will laugh. It is the deep, deep fear of sounding stupid. And this fear creates a very sad circle, a vicious cycle. It works like this. First, you are afraid to speak. So you do not speak. You avoid it. You stay quiet. Because you do not speak, you do not practice. And because you do not practice, you do not get better. You stay at the same level. And because you do not get any better, your fear gets stronger. It grows bigger and bigger. Then you start to believe that little voice in your head, that quiet, negative voice, the voice that says, your English is not good enough. The voice that says, don't say anything, you will just embarrass yourself. The voice that says, just stay quiet, it is safer. That little voice becomes your reality. You believe it is true. I was living in that reality. That sad, quiet reality. I started to avoid social situations, places with people, parties, dinners. At my job, I would take the long way around the office, just so I did not have to walk past the kitchen. People were always chatting in the kitchen. I was too scared to join. When I went to a cafe to buy coffee, I would type my order on my phone. Then I would just show the screen to the person at the counter. I did this so I would not have to say the words. 1 large coffee, please. Even those simple words felt too scary. My world was getting smaller and smaller. Every day, it was shrinking. All because of this fear. I felt completely and totally stuck. It felt like a puzzle with no answer, a catch-22. To get better at speaking, you need to speak. But speaking was the one thing I was terrified of doing. How can you do the thing that scares you most? I was convinced that this was my life now. I believed this was my future. I would always be the quiet one, the one who just smiles and nods. Forever trapped inside my own head, with all my thoughts and ideas, but no voice to share them. It was a very lonely place to be. Section 2. The Turning Point, the Child and the Simple Truth. My big change did not come from a book. It did not come from a famous language expert. It did not come from a new revolutionary app. My breakthrough came from a park bench. It was a sunny afternoon. I was sitting alone on the bench. I was feeling my usual feelings: sadness, frustration, hopelessness. I was lost in my own negative thoughts. Then I saw a woman and a little boy. The boy was maybe 4 or 5 years old. He was her son. The child was pointing at everything he saw, and he was talking. He was chattering away. His English was very simple. It was broken. It was full of mistakes. But it was also totally fearless. He had no fear at all. He pointed to a big golden dog. The dog was running. The little boy said, "I see doggy." Then he said, "Doggy, run fast." His grammar was not correct, but it did not matter. His mother smiled a warm smile. She said, "Yes, honey, the dog is running fast." She did not make him feel bad. She just gently corrected him. Then the boy pointed at a man. The man was sitting on another bench. He was eating ice cream. The boy said, "He eat ice cream." "I want ice cream." Again, his grammar was not perfect. He eat should be he is eating, but the meaning was 100 clear. The mother just nodded. She gently corrected him again. "Oh, he is eating ice cream. You want some ice cream?" I just sat there and I watched them. I watched them for about 10 minutes. In that short time, the child made many mistakes. Maybe 10 mistakes. Maybe 20. I lost count. His grammar was not perfect. His sentences were very, very basic. But here's the important part. Not once did he stop talking. Not once did he hesitate. He was not worried. He did not look embarrassed or shy. He was not translating in his head. He was not thinking in another language first. He was not worried about complex grammar rules. He did not care about the simple present or the present continuous tense. He was just communicating. He was sharing his world. He saw something and he described it. He used the simple tools he had, the simple words he knew. He connected a thought directly to a sound, and the sound came out of his mouth. Simple, fast, fearless. And that is when it hit me. That is when I understood. A big realization, a big aha moment. The idea was so simple. It was almost stupid that I didn't see it before. My problem was not my vocabulary. I knew enough words. My problem was not my grammar. I knew enough rules. My problem was complexity. I was trying to do something too difficult. I was trying to build a skyscraper, a big, tall, beautiful building. But I had not even learned how to lay one single brick, one small, simple brick. I was trying to write beautiful poetry, but I could not even form one simple, confident sentence. That little child was my teacher. He was not trying to be perfect. He was just trying to connect with his mom. His goal was not accuracy. His goal was communication. And because he was not afraid of making mistakes, he was practicing all the time. Every minute of his day was practice. He was getting real-time feedback from his mom. He was getting corrections. And he was getting better with every single sentence he spoke. I had been doing the exact opposite, the complete opposite. I was so scared of being imperfect. So I chose silence instead. I chose to say nothing. I was waiting. I was waiting for a magical day, a day when I would wake up and be fluent, a day when I would be perfect. I told myself, when I am fluent, then I will speak. But here's the simple truth. That day was never going to come. That magical day does not exist. Fluency is not a place you arrive at. It is not a destination, like a city. Fluency is a path, a road. It is a path that you build yourself. And you build it one brick at a time, one spoken sentence at a time. So I made a big decision. I decided to forget everything. Forget the advanced grammar rules. Forget the big fancy vocabulary words. Forget the fear of making mistakes. Forget the memory of the laughter. I was going to go back to the very, very beginning. I was going to be like that child in the park. I was going to learn to lay one brick, and then another brick, and then another. I created a very simple habit, a 10-minute habit for every day. This habit focused on one thing, only one thing. Speaking simple sentences out loud, using words I already knew. Speaking with no fear and speaking with no translating in my head. This was my new plan, a new beginning. Section 3, the solution, the 10-minute daily habit. The method I found is very simple. It is designed to do one main thing. It helps you turn off the difficult part of your brain, the part that is always translating, the part that is always overthinking, the part that is always feeling afraid. And it helps you turn on another part of your brain, the part that just speaks, the natural, simple part. This method is about building muscle memory. It is like exercise for your mouth. It is also about creating new pathways in your brain, new automatic roads for English to travel on. It does not require any books. It does not require any apps. All it requires is 10 minutes of your day and a quiet place. The whole idea is based on something called self-narration. That means talking to yourself, describing your own actions. Here is the 4-step process. This is what I did every single day. Let's go through it slowly. Step 1. Choose your 5 sentences. This first step is very, very important, so please listen carefully. In this step, you are not learning new words. This is not about vocabulary. You are activating the words you already know. You are waking them up. You are going to choose 5 simple sentences. These sentences will describe the first things you do in the morning. Why the morning? Because the morning is a routine. It is predictable. It is something you do every single day. This makes it easy to practice. The goal is to use the simple present tense. Nothing complicated. Keep it simple. For example, your 5 sentences might look like this. Sentence 1, I wake up at 7 a.m. Sentence 2, I turn off my alarm. Sentence 3, I get out of bed. Sentence 4, I walk to the bathroom. Sentence 5, I brush my teeth. Let's look at these sentences together. I wake up at 7 a.m. Very simple. I turn off my alarm. Very simple. I get out of bed. Very simple. I walk to the bathroom. Very simple. I brush my teeth. Very simple. These sentences are short. The words are easy. You probably learned these words in your first month of English class. And that is the whole point. This is the secret. The power is not in the words. The power is in the action. The action of saying them out loud. So take a piece of paper, write down your 5 sentences, then stick the paper on your wall or on your mirror. Put it somewhere you can see it easily in the morning. This is your first and most important step. Step 2, the 10-minute shadow speaking session. Now for the second step. You need a timer. You can use your phone or a clock. Set the timer for 10 minutes. For these 10 minutes, you have only one job. Your only job is to speak. You will do this alone. Do it in your bedroom or in the bathroom. Find a place where nobody can hear you, a place where you feel safe. This is very important. There should be 0 pressure. No one is listening. No one is judging you. This is your safe space, your training ground. Here you can build your foundation, brick by brick. There are 2 ways you can do this. Let's talk about the first way. First, you can narrate your actions as you do them. This means you say what you are doing. For example, quote, when your alarm rings and you open your eyes, you say the words out loud. I wake up. When you reach for your phone to stop the alarm, you say out loud, I turn off my alarm. When your feet touch the floor, you say out loud, I get out of bed. You are connecting the physical action to the English words. You are linking the movement to the sound. This helps you stop translating in your head. It creates a direct connection. Now let's talk about the second way. Second, you can just walk around your room and you repeat your 5 sentences over and over and over again. Just say them. I wake up at 7 a.m. I turn off my alarm. I get out of bed. I walk to the bathroom. I brush my teeth. Then say it again. I wake up at 7 a.m. I turn off my alarm. I get out of bed. I walk to the bathroom. I brush my teeth. And again. Listen to me. I know this will feel silly. It will feel strange. You might even feel stupid. That is okay. That feeling is normal. Remember, this is not about having a conversation. This is about training. Think about a musician. A guitarist practices scales. Do, re, mi, fa, so, up and down, over and over. Scales are not a beautiful song, but the scales make it possible to play the song later. This practice is your scales. It is the foundation. It is training your mouth to make English sounds. And it is training your brain to find English words without thinking, automatically. Step 3, the flow over perfection rule. This is a very important rule for your 10-minute practice. During these 10 minutes, your goal is not perfect pronunciation. Do not worry if you sound like a native speaker. It does not matter. Your goal is not perfect grammar. Do not worry if you make a mistake. It does not matter. You have one goal, one single, only goal, and that goal is flow. Flow means that the words keep moving, like water in a river. The water just keeps flowing. It does not stop. You just want to get the words out of your mouth without stopping, without hesitating, without pausing to judge yourself. When you are repeating your 5 sentences, try to say them a little faster each time. Try to make the words connect smoothly. I wake up at 7 a.m. I turn off my alarm. I get out of bed. You are breaking a very old, very bad habit. You are breaking the habit of silence, the habit of fear. You are teaching your brain and your body a new lesson. You are teaching them that speaking English is a normal physical act. It is not a scary test. It is just something your body can do. Step 4, the no translation command. This is the last step, and it is the hardest rule to follow, but it is also the most important. For these 10 minutes, you must follow one command, one rule for your brain. The rule is no translating in your head. This means you are not thinking the sentence in your native language first. You are not thinking and then converting it to, I brush my teeth. No. You must try to stop this process. But how? How can you do that? It seems impossible. You do it by focusing on images and feelings, on pictures in your mind. When you say the sentence, I brush my teeth, do not think about the words. Instead, picture your toothbrush in your mind. See the color of it. Picture the sink in your bathroom. Feel the action of moving your hand up and down. You are building a new bridge, a direct bridge. This bridge goes from the idea of brushing your teeth straight to the English words, I brush my teeth. At first, your brain will fight you. It will want to go back to the old way. The old habit of translating is very strong. It has been there for years. But you can beat it by focusing on the simple images, by repeating the simple sentences. You are not giving your brain time to translate. You are forcing it to be faster. You are forcing your brain to start thinking in English, even if it is just for these 5 simple sentences. This is the very first step, the first step to developing an English inner voice, a voice inside your head that thinks in English. And that's it. That is the entire habit. Let's review 5 simple sentences, 10 minutes, every single day. I know what you might be thinking. It sounds too simple. It sounds too easy to actually work. I thought that too. I was skeptical, but I was also desperate. I was willing to try anything. So I made a promise to myself. I will do this for just 1 week, 7 days. That's all. Let's see what happens. And now I will tell you what happened. Section 4. The 7-Day Journey, a Diary of Transformation. I want to share my diary with you. I will tell you about each of the 7 days, so you can see the transformation step by step. Day 1. The sound of my own voice. The first morning was so strange. It felt very awkward. I was standing in my bedroom. The sun was just beginning to come up. The room was quiet and still. I felt like a complete idiot. I felt so silly. My little piece of paper was on my wardrobe. My 5 sentences were written there. I took a deep breath, and I whispered the first sentence. I wake up at 7 a.m. The sound of my own voice speaking English in an empty room, it felt so weird. It felt foreign, wrong. It was like listening to a bad actor, an actor who did not know his lines. My brain was screaming at me. The negative voice was very loud. It said, "This is stupid. This is a waste of time." It said, "This isn't working. You're just talking to yourself like a crazy person." I wanted to stop, but I remembered my promise. 1 week. So I pushed through the 10 minutes. My voice was just a mumble, a whisper. I felt more shy in my own empty room than I did in a crowd of people. It was a very strange feeling. When the 10-minute timer went off, I felt relief. I was so happy it was over. I did not feel any magic. I did not feel any change. I just felt a deep sense of how silly it was. That was day 1. Day 2. A little louder. This morning, I almost did not do it. I did not want to feel awkward again. The memory of how silly I felt on day 1 was very strong. But then I remembered something else, something stronger. I remembered the sound of the laughter. That memory was more powerful than the memory of feeling silly. So I stood up. I set the timer for 10 minutes and I started. This time I tried to be a little braver. I tried to speak at a normal volume, not whispering. I wake up at 7 a.m. I turn off my alarm. The sentences were still just words I was reading from a piece of paper. But something felt a little bit different. Just a tiny, tiny bit. The physical action of speaking. The feeling of my mouth making the words. It felt slightly less alien, slightly more normal. I started to notice the rhythm of the sentences, the music of the words. I wake up. I turn off. I get out. For just 1 second, a very short second, I was not just reading, I was speaking. The 10 minutes still felt very long, but today there was a tiny spark, a tiny light. And it was a spark of something that was not shame. It was something new. That was day 2. Day 3, the first glimmer of automaticity. This was the day I knew something was changing. Something was really happening. As I started my 10-minute practice, I felt different. The sentences came out more easily. They were smoother. I wake up at 7 a.m. I turn off my alarm. I get out of bed. I said them a few times. And then I realized I was not looking at the paper. The words were coming from my memory. Later that morning, I was making my bed, just doing my normal morning routine. And then a sentence just appeared in my head. It just popped into my mind. The sentence was, I make my bed. And it was in English. This was amazing to me. This sentence was not on my list of 5 sentences. I had not practiced it. I had not tried to think of it. But there it was, a simple English sentence. My brain just gave it to me for free, without any effort. It was a very small moment, a tiny little thing, but it felt huge. It felt like a miracle. My brain had just offered me an English thought. It did not translate. It just thought in English. For the very first time, I felt a real flicker of hope. Not just a spark, a small flame. Maybe, just maybe, this could actually work. That was day 3. Day 4, expanding the territory. I felt so good after day 3. I was riding a small wave of confidence. So on day 4, I decided to add a small challenge. I kept my 5 core sentences. Those were my foundation, my base. But I also started to narrate other small things. Still in the morning. Still in my room. I was only using very simple words. Words I was 100 sure I knew. I described my world in the simplest way possible. For example, I walked to my window and I said, I opened the curtain. Then I looked outside and I said, I see the sun. Then I put on my slippers. And I said, I put on my slippers. It felt like I was building a small bubble. A tiny, safe bubble of English all around me. Inside this bubble, everything had a simple English name. This 10-minute session felt different. It was not just repetition. It felt creative. I was not just a robot repeating lines from a paper. I was an observer. I was the narrator of my own life. I was teaching myself how to think in English. I was telling the story of my morning to myself. That was day 4. Okay, let's continue our story. Day 5, the first real-world test. Today was a big day. I had to go out into the real world. I needed coffee, so I had to go to the cafe. Normally, going to the cafe was a moment of peak anxiety, maximum fear. I would rehearse my order in my head, over and over. Can I have a large black coffee, please? Can I have a large black coffee, please? I would feel so nervous. But today was different. As I was walking to the cafe, something new happened. Instead of panicking, instead of rehearsing and feeling scared, my brain just started doing what I had trained it to do. It started narrating. My new inner English voice started talking. I am walking to the cafe. I see the green door. I open the door. I smell the coffee. I see the menu. It was my simple internal narration. It was quiet, it was calm, and it kept the fear away. I got to the counter. The barista, the coffee shop worker, smiled at me. In the past, this was the moment the fear would kick in. My mind would go blank. But this time, before the old fear could start, a sentence just came out. It happened naturally. I said, "Good morning. 1 black coffee, please." It was not a long sentence. It was not complex or impressive, but it was smooth. It was confident. There was no hesitation. There was no stammering. There was no frantic, desperate search for words in my brain. It just happened. Like it was the most normal thing in the world. The barista nodded and took my money. "Here you go, iboto," he said. "Thank you," I said. As I walked away with my coffee, I felt like I was floating on a cloud. I felt so light, so happy. It was such a small victory, a tiny, tiny win, but it felt like winning a huge championship. It was proof, real solid proof. This simple, silly little 10-minute habit, it was actually working. It was working in the real world. That was day 5. Day 6. The inner voice changes. The confidence from day 5 was like electricity. It gave me so much energy. My 10-minute practice this morning felt powerful. The words flowed like a river. I did not even look at the paper once. I spent the whole 10 minutes just walking around my apartment, narrating my morning routine out loud. I am making toast. I get the butter from the fridge. I put butter on my toast. I drink my coffee. This coffee is good. It was starting to feel natural. Not awkward or silly anymore. It just felt normal. Later that day, I was at work, and I noticed something truly incredible. You know that voice inside your head? The constant monologue that is always thinking, planning what to do next, commenting on the world. My inner voice had always spoken in my native language. Always. But today it started speaking English. Not all the time. Just in little moments, little flashes. I was walking to lunch. I came to a street, and the thought in my head was, the light is red. The thought just appeared. In English. It was not Jen Mao Jo. It was, the light is red. I was sitting at my desk. I felt a little cold. The thought in my head was, I need my sweater. In English. The English part of my brain was waking up. The part that had been sleeping for so long. The part that had been so scared and dormant. It was finally waking up and starting to speak. That was day 6. Day 7. The payoff. This was the final day of my 1-week experiment. It was exactly 1 week after that terrible night, the night of the laughter. Life has a funny way of testing you. That evening, I found myself in a similar situation. A get-together after work, with some of the same people from last week. My heart started to beat a little faster. Thump, thump, thump. The memory of the shame was still fresh. For a second, the old fear came back. I felt that old, familiar feeling. The urge to be quiet, to retreat into my safe, silent shell. Then someone at the table turned to me. He looked right at me and he asked a question. You've been quiet tonight. What are you working on these days? The whole table went quiet. Everyone looked at me. All eyes were on me. 1 week ago, this would have been my worst nightmare, my absolute worst fear come true. 1 week ago, I would have frozen. My mind would have gone completely blank and white. I would have mumbled something like, work stuff. And I would have looked away, my face red with shame. But this time was different. I was different. I took a breath. A calm, slow breath. I did not try to find a long, impressive, complicated answer. I did not try to show off. I just used the simple tools I'd been building all week, the simple bricks. I kept my answer simple. I focused on communication, not perfection. I spoke clearly. I looked at him and said, I'm working on a new project at my job. It's about data analysis. It is challenging, but I learn a lot every day. The words just came out. They were steady, they were clear, they were confident. And then something amazing happened. Silence. But it was not the silence before laughter, it was a different kind of silence. A silence of surprise. There was no laughter, not a single chuckle. Instead, one of the guys who had laughed at me last week. He just stared at me. His eyebrows were raised. It was a look of genuine surprise. He nodded his head slowly, and he said, "Oh, wow, that sounds interesting." And that was it. The moment was over. The conversation moved on to something else. But for me, in that moment, the entire world had changed. Their look of surprise was better than 1,000 compliments. It was more satisfying than any praise. I had not given a perfect, fluent speech like a native speaker. I had just communicated. Clearly, confidently. I had closed the gap. The big, scary space between knowing and speaking. The laughter was gone. The memory of it had lost its power. And in its place was something new. A quiet, undeniable feeling of respect. I hadn't just spoken English. I had found my voice. That was day 7. Section 5. The why. Hacking your brain for fluency. So now you have heard my story. But you might be asking, why does this work? Why does this ridiculously simple 10-minute habit work so well? Why does it work when years of classes and apps often fail to build real speaking confidence? The answer is not really about language. It is about psychology and neuroscience. It is about how our brains work. With this habit, you are not just learning English, you are rewiring your brain. You are changing the roads inside your mind. Let's talk about the 4 big reasons why this method is so powerful. 1. It builds real confidence. The fear that so many of us feel has a name. In psychology, it is sometimes called learned helplessness. It sounds complicated, but it is a simple idea. After you have a few bad experiences, like getting laughed at or feeling stupid in a conversation, or getting corrected in a mean way, your brain learns a simple but very dangerous equation. Your brain learns speaking English pain, speaking English danger. So your brain tries to protect you. How does it protect you? By avoiding the pain, by avoiding the danger, by telling you to be quiet. This 10-minute habit hacks that system. It rewrites that wrong equation. By practicing in a completely safe, zero-pressure zone, alone in your room, you are creating a new association, a new positive equation. You are proving to your brain with repetition, day after day, a new truth. The new truth is speaking English safe. Every time you finish your 10 minutes, you get a small win. You log a victory in your brain's record book. Day 1, 1 win. Day 2, another win. Day 3, another win. And it is these small, consistent daily wins. That is what real strong confidence is built on. Confidence is not a feeling that just appears. It is something you build, win by win, brick by brick. 2. It helps you speak automatically. When you are a beginner, your brain uses a very slow process to speak. It is a clumsy 3-step process. Step 1. You have a thought in your native language. Step 2. Your brain works hard to translate that thought into English. Step 3. You try to speak the translated English words. This process is why you freeze. It is why your mind goes blank. Your brain is working too hard. It is like an old computer trying to run a new program. It is too slow. This 10-minute habit is designed to break that slow chain. It helps you skip the translation step. By connecting simple sentences directly to actions like brushing your teeth, or directly to images like picturing your toothbrush, you force your brain to build a new direct pathway, a super fast highway. The new pathway is thought action, spoken English. It is direct. There is no middleman, no translator. This is called automaticity. It means doing something automatically without thinking about it. It is the same reason you can walk without thinking. Now I move my left leg. Now I move my right leg. You just walk. It's automatic. It is the same reason you can ride a bike without thinking about how to balance. You just ride. It's automatic. With enough repetition of this 10-minute habit, you turn the conscious, difficult pain of speaking into an unconscious, easy, automatic skill. 3. It treats speaking like a physical skill. Speaking is physical. It is an action of your body. It involves your lungs for air. It involves your breath. It involves your vocal cords in your throat to make sound. It involves your tongue, your lips, and your teeth to shape the sound into words. Think about learning to play a musical instrument like the piano. You cannot learn to play the piano by only reading music theory books. It is impossible. To learn piano, you have to physically practice. You have to sit at the piano and move your fingers on the keys every day. Language is the same. You cannot learn to speak just by memorizing grammar rules in your head. This daily 10-minute habit is your physical training. It is your time at the gym for your mouth. You are literally giving your mouth a workout. The repetition builds muscle memory in your tongue and lips. It makes the sounds of English feel more natural, less strange coming from your own mouth. You get comfortable with the physical feeling of speaking English. 4. It frees up your mind. Have you ever been in a conversation and your mind just freezes? Why does that happen? It is because you are asking your brain to do too many things at the same time. You are trying to remember advanced grammar rules, find the perfect, impressive vocabulary word, get the pronunciation exactly right, listen to the other person, and form your own sentence, all at the same time. This is called cognitive load. It means your brain is too full. It is overloaded. And when it gets overloaded, it just shuts down. It goes blank. This 10-minute method slashes that load. It makes the job for your brain incredibly simple. By focusing only on a few simple sentences you already know, you free up all of your mental energy. You can now use that energy to focus on just one thing, the simple act of speaking, the flow. You are not worried about what to say. You already know your 5 sentences, so you can focus on how you are saying it. The rhythm, the smoothness, the feeling of confidence. This method clears that mental traffic jam in your brain, and it lets the words finally move freely. So in the end, you are basically tricking your brain in a good way. You are taking the huge, scary, impossible goal of becoming fluent, and you are breaking it down into a tiny, achievable, easy mission. The mission is just speak for 10 minutes without stopping. And by winning that tiny mission every single day, you end up conquering the big, scary goal without even realizing it. You build fluency, one simple sentence at a time. My dear friend, we are near the end of our time together today. If you take one thing from my story, let it be this. The opposite of speaking is not listening. The opposite of speaking is not reading. The opposite of speaking is waiting. So many of us are waiting. We wait for the perfect moment to speak. We wait until we have more vocabulary. We wait until we finish another grammar course. We wait until we feel confident. But confidence does not come from waiting. Confidence is not something you find. Confidence is something you build. That humiliating moment with the laughter taught me a huge lesson. The path to confidence is not paved with more knowledge. It is paved with more action. The journey does not start with learning 1,000 new difficult words. It starts with daring to speak 10 simple words you already know out loud. The simple 10-minute habit I shared with you today is not magic. It is a system. It is a tool. It is a way to prove to yourself day after day that you can speak, that your voice works, that you have the power to communicate. It is about replacing the loud fear of judgment with the quiet rhythm of daily practice. It is about trading the lonely prison of silence for the wonderful freedom of simple, imperfect, but real communication. Your journey to feeling good about your English will not be defined by one big day. One day when you suddenly feel brave. No, it will be defined by the 100 small days. The days you showed up for 10 minutes even when you were scared. Even when you felt silly. Even when you wanted to quit. Your confidence is built in those quiet 10-minute sessions. Alone in your room. Where you find the courage to simply hear the sound of your own voice, and you learn that your voice is strong. So please stop waiting. Your English is already good enough to start this journey. Right now. Choose your 5 sentences tonight. Write them down. Set your timer for 10 minutes tomorrow morning. And just begin. Just start. Start laying your bricks. One brick, then another, and another. Soon you will have a foundation, then a wall, and then a home for your new confident voice. The world is waiting to hear what you have to say, and you have so much to share. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to my story today. I hope it has given you a little bit of light, a little bit of hope. Remember that learning anything new takes time. Be kind to yourself. Be patient with yourself. You are doing a great job. Keep going. Don't give up. I am cheering for you. If this story helped you, please consider sharing it with a friend who might need to hear it too. And please leave a comment below. What will be your first 5 sentences? I would love to read them. Thank you again for being here with me. It was wonderful to spend this time with you. See you next time, my friend.